After 2 years of caring for the woman I loved while she was blind, her sight returned. The first thing she did was find her old boyfriend and marry him. Everyone said they had overcome the odds, that their love story had finally reached its happy ending. I watched the live broadcast of their wedding on the massive screens in Times Square, then turned and walked away, giving the engagement ring in my pocket to a homeless man on the street. Between us, the slate was finally clean. The crowds in the square had slowed to a crawl, all eyes tilted up at the screens broadcasting the lavish wedding. It wasn't just here. Every screen in sight, from storefronts to news tickers, was showing the same event. The roses had been flown in from Ecuador. The entire setup screamed Jessica Hayes' design aesthetic. During her 2 years of blindness, she had described her dream wedding to me countless times. Back then, she would gently trace the lines of my face and ask me what my dream wedding was. I always shook my head. The truth was, as long as she was there, it was my dream wedding. But now, the bride in the spotlight wasn't looking at me. Her gaze was fixed on her ex-boyfriend, the cellist, Leo Vance. I watched in silence as the ceremony on the giant screen reached the exchanging of the rings. A polished wooden tray held a diamond ring from a famous European designer. I thought of the ring still in my pocket. The difference was laughable. Thank God I never gave it to her. A girl next to me squealed, "Jessica Hayes is so beautiful, and she's the CEO of Hayes Corporation. Her husband is so handsome." I heard she was blind for 2 years, her friend added, and Leo never gave up on her. They finally made it. I closed my eyes. I was the one by her side for those 2 years. Back then, when Jessica suddenly lost her sight, the woman who had always been so gentle and composed became volatile and cruel. Leo was a spoiled trust fund kid. He couldn't handle it. He took off for a conservatory in Europe without so much as a goodbye. A roar of applause and cheering broke through my thoughts. I opened my eyes. It was time for the kiss. Leo lowered his head and pressed a tender kiss to Jessica's forehead. As they embraced, the wedding rings on their hands caught the light. In an instant, the sky above the city lit up as fireworks exploded overhead. Jessica was never the type to broadcast her private life, but Leo was the exact opposite. She loved him, so she was willing to compromise. The fireworks whipped the crowd into a greater frenzy. The young woman beside me was practically vibrating with excitement, grabbing her friend's arm and shrieking, "Ah, it's so perfect. I'm dying. I'm so jealous." I stood silently in the middle of it all, my face a stoic mask completely out of place. They really did look perfect together. The screens behind me were still broadcasting the reception. Bathed in the fleeting light of the fireworks, I turned and walked away. My steps slowed on a pedestrian overpass. The hand in my pocket clenched and unclenched around the ring box. After a long moment, I pulled it out. It was a pink diamond, her favorite. Not that it mattered now. It wouldn't fit me. I placed the box in the hands of a homeless man sitting nearby. It was over. Everything was over. My debt to her family, my feelings for her, all of it. We were even. My things had been tossed out onto the curb in front of the Hayes Corporation building. The contents of the boxes were scattered across the sidewalk. Employees who used to greet me with respectful nods now pointed and whispered as they passed. My former assistant slipped me a file folder. "Caleb," she said quietly, "here, you can use this to carry your things. There have been some personnel changes. Don't be too sad. I'm sure you'll find something better." She was being diplomatic, but everyone who saw yesterday's wedding knew the score. He was back, which meant Jessica didn't need me anymore. I'd had a private office that doubled as a conference room, which made it easier to take care of Jessica's needs. Now, the door was locked. As I walked past, I saw new office furniture being stacked outside, including a cello case. Looked like it had a new owner. I took the folder from my assistant and knelt to pick up my scattered papers. A commotion erupted behind me. My fingers, holding a stack of documents, turned white as I gripped them tightly. Jessica, wearing sunglasses, was being half carried, half embraced by Leo through a swarm of reporters and paparazzi who had gathered after yesterday's wedding. The entrance to the building looked more like a press conference. From a distance, I saw her. Since losing her sight, she had worn almost exclusively white. But today, she was in a vibrant red dress, just like the old days. She was as dazzling as ever, and the handsome, dapper man beside her was a perfect match. They always were. I was like those white clothes, just a temporary choice for a darker time. The reporters shoved their microphones forward, firing off questions. "Ms. Hayes, is it true that your husband, Mr. Vance, was the one who cared for you during your blindness?" Jessica didn't answer. Instead, Leo took the microphone from the reporter and smiled. "It was a difficult time," he said smoothly, But fortunately, Jesse and I both pulled through it together. It was a difficult time for Jessica, the golden girl of the city, blind in an instant. Her parents had died when she was a child, and the grandfather who adored her had passed away as a result of the same accident. The sharks on the company's board saw her blindness as an opportunity to tear Hayes Corp apart from the inside. The sheltered heiress tasted true hardship for the first time, and Leo was part of that hardship. The moment he heard she was blind, he made one phone call and then left for Europe to become a world-renowned cellist. I was the one who stayed by her side. But as Leo told his blatant lie, she didn't just smile radiantly. She didn't correct him. She tilted her head up to look at him, as if he were the only person in the world. Through the flashing camera lights, her head suddenly turned. Our eyes met across the crowd. Leo, standing beside her, saw it all. The smile on his face froze. I offered a small, humorless smile of my own and held up the folder in my hands as if in a toast. Thanks for the wedding gift, you too. I felt a strange sense of relief. I didn't know the Hayes family anything anymore. And I certainly didn't know Jessica anything. The reporters wouldn't disperse, and I was trapped at the entrance. I hadn't eaten breakfast, and my low blood sugar was starting to kick in. The folder, which wasn't heavy at all, suddenly felt like it was filled with lead. Leo really was special to her. I'd known Jessica for so long, seen countless men try to win her over, but Leo was the only one she'd ever been serious about. They were from the same world. What did 2 years apart matter? He would be the one by her side for all the years to come. I slowly crouched down, hoping to wait out the media scrum and regain some strength. A pair of black high heels stopped right in front of me. I instinctively looked up and met Jessica's gaze. To outsiders, she was always polite and gracious. But now, with her back to the reporters, the smile was gone. Is your low blood sugar acting up? Or is it a stomach ache? I stared into her eyes, stunned into silence. Before I could speak, she let out a cold laugh. Since you've been fired, you could go squat somewhere else. I'd rather not have reporters saying someone died outside my company tomorrow. The words that came from those perfect, ruby-red lips were unbelievably cruel. I lowered my head and said nothing. Her sight was back, and so was her attitude toward me. She'd always despised me before she went blind. What was it she used to say? Are you ever not annoying? Stop following me around like a stray dog. It was clear now. She hadn't fallen for me. She had just clung to me because I was the only one left. I ignored her. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Leo approaching. He wrapped an arm around Jessica's waist and whispered affectionately in her ear. Let's go up. The reporters are leaving. We can go see how the office turned out. He then turned and saw me. Perhaps remembering what he'd just said to the press, his expression soured, a flash of guilt in his eyes. It didn't bother me. If the main players had nothing to say, what right did I have to object? I looked up at the two of them and spoke, a slight smile on my face. Yesterday's wedding was a dream. Truly beautiful. I wish you a lifetime of happiness together. Just not the kind of dream I would have wanted. Jessica stared directly into my eyes, so intently that she didn't even react when Leo called her name. The wedding ring from the ceremony was still on her finger. I lowered my gaze again and sat quietly, refusing to look at her. Leo spoke again, his voice gentle. Jesse, let's go. The light is too strong for your eyes. Let's head upstairs. After what felt like an eternity, Jessica's cool voice drifted down. Caleb Shaw, they're going to regret this. When I looked up in confusion, all I saw were their backs as they walked away. It was just like when they were dating years ago. It was just a simple blessing. Anyone else could have said it, but not me. Because she hated me, even my well wishes sounded like a curse to her. But what would I regret? I wouldn't regret a single thing. I had done everything I was supposed to do. As soon as Jessica left, the security guards, likely on her orders, came over to shoo me away. Thank God the reporters were gone, or I would have been utterly humiliated in front of everyone. Suddenly, my phone rang. I answered it, and a familiar voice came through. Get out here. I'm at the curb. It was a short, direct command. It fit the image of her I'd always had in my mind. After a moment's hesitation, I gathered my tattered belongings and walked out to the street. Sitting in the passenger seat of her car, I ate the chocolate she handed me, and it took a few minutes for the dizziness to subside. You're so meticulous when you're taking care of other people, but you have no idea how to look after yourself, do you? Sophia Reed's tone was laced with sarcasm, but her words betrayed her concern. Seeing her look at me with that, "You're a hopeless case" expression, I couldn't help but find it a little funny. Before Jessica went blind, Sophia, like all of Jessica's other friends, couldn't stand me. She thought I followed Jessica around like a shadow, cramping their style and ruining their plans. But then, for reasons I never understood, Sophia and Jessica had a massive fight and never spoke again. In the 2 years Jessica was blind, Sophia had expanded her family's business empire, even acquiring some divisions that had once belonged to Hayes Corp. Even though things were over between Jessica and me, Sophia's kindness still felt a bit like a betrayal. Sophia leaned back in her seat and stretched. "There's a charity gala in a few days," she said lazily. "You're coming with me." I turned to look out the window at the passing cityscape. What would I do at a place like that? Besides, if you're just trying to piss off Jessica, you don't have to. The woman's married now. Sophia leaned in close, pouting like a child. Is she? Funny, because I heard they had a wedding, but they never actually filed for a marriage license. She was so close I could feel her breath on my cheek. I didn't look at her or respond. That wasn't a question, it was a demand. Jessica's voice echoed in my head from years ago. Caleb Shaw. Me like him? Are you kidding? Don't even joke about that. I ended up at the charity gala with Sophia anyway. I heard that all the donations from the event would go to a foundation for orphan children. Sophia had insisted on getting me properly styled beforehand. She said that taking care of Jessica had made me forget how to present myself. It was always t-shirts, hoodies, and jeans. For a top financial analyst, I didn't even own a decent suit. Putting on a tailored suit and tie and walking the red carpet with Sophia felt surreal. She smiled and waved at the reporters lining the entrance. As we started up the steps, she reached for my hand. I instinctively pulled back for a second. "You're my date," she hissed under her breath. "Look around. Is there anyone here who isn't holding hands?" I didn't pull away again. As we walked, I caught her profile in my peripheral vision and felt a wave of nostalgia. Time flies. The little girl who used to cry at the drop of a hat was now a formidable powerhouse. "I'm not bringing you here to piss her off," Sophia's voice cut through the noise of the crowd. "I'm doing it because I'm pissed off. I just want Jessica to see," she said, her voice a fierce whisper, "to see that she wasn't just blind. She was heartless, too." Her indignant words made me want to smile. She could be so childish sometimes, even now. This was the first formal event I'd attended in years. Before Jessica's accident, I would never have been her date. And for the past 2 years, her blindness meant we avoided any event we possibly could. When the ballroom lights hit Sophia's face, I thought for the first time how perfectly her name suited her. Impossibly graceful. Almost everyone who entered came over to greet us, drawn by Sophia's presence. They all knew she wasn't engaged, let alone had a boyfriend, so they were curious about me. "Sophia, and this is," one of them asked. Sophia's answer shocked me, making me regret coming. "My boyfriend," she announced with a brilliant smile. "I was just waiting for him to finally be single. Otherwise, I would have died alone." She shot me a playful wink. So juvenile. Just as she finished speaking, a collective gasp came from a nearby group. I followed the sound and saw Jessica and Leo. A waiter was apologizing profusely to Jessica while Leo's suit was soaked in red wine. But she paid him no mind. Her eyes were locked on me, staring as if she hadn't seen me in ages, a look of stunned disbelief on her face. It was probably the first time she had ever seen me in an event like this, laughing and talking with someone else. Leo followed her gaze and saw me. The hand wiping the wine from his jacket froze midair. I ignored them and turned back to Sophia. That's when Jessica seemed to notice Sophia's hand resting on my arm. Her gracious smile vanished instantly. She picked up a glass of wine and started walking toward us. Sophia, who had been mid-conversation, smoothly raised her own hand and intercepted the glass just as Jessica was about to throw its contents. Seeing the thunderous look on Jessica's face, I stepped forward, putting myself between her and Sophia. Jessica let out a cold, sharp laugh. "Caleb, don't you forget who raised you." In the past, I would have been standing silently by her side. This was the first time I had ever stood in opposition to her, let alone protecting someone else from her. All she ever had to do was call my name, and I would appear no matter where I was. But things were different now. I pulled Sophia closer, shielding her completely with my body. She was dressed beautifully tonight. I wasn't about to let Jessica ruin her outfit with red wine. "I paid that debt long ago," I said, my voice low and steady. "Both before you went blind and during those 2 years." Leo's face went pale at my words, likely remembering all the powerful people and reporters in the room. He tried to grab Jessica's arm, but she violently shook him off. Just then, the MC's voice rang out from the stage, officially starting the charity auction. A group of children from an orphanage walked on stage and began to sing a thank you to the donors. Watching them, I felt a strange sense of déjà vu. The first time I met Jessica was at an event just like this. Except I was the one on stage performing. Her parents were still alive then, and they had brought her to the gala. From a distance, I saw her, a tiny, perfectly behaved little girl held in her parents' arms. But tragedy strikes without warning. As her parents led her onto the stage, a section of the lighting rig collapsed. Terrified, Jessica bolted to the side. I rushed forward, grabbed her, and tackled her off the stage, shielding her with my body. Her parents died instantly. That accident took many lives. I was lucky to survive. Or rather, Jessica's grandfather, grateful, adopted me and asked me to grow up alongside her, to be her protector. Caleb, he had told me, you must take good care of Jessica. A child needs their parents more than anything. After their death, Jessica became increasingly rebellious. I loved her, and combined with her grandfather's request, I felt a duty to look after her. During her teenage years, she despised me. She saw me as a spy her grandfather had planted to monitor her. She was always trying to find ways to ditch me, until the day she snuck out and got cornered in an alley by a group of thugs. When I got there, she was crying uncontrollably. I fought them. They beat me until my face was a swollen mess, blood streaming from a cut on my forehead. They only ran when they got scared they might actually kill someone. After that, she never tried to get rid of me again. She just accepted that she had a tail. With Mr. Hayes' support, I never slacked off. I thought if I just became successful enough, I could one day stand by her side as an equal. The day before I started working at the company after college, Jessica and I stood quietly under the old oak tree in the backyard. Her words were light and airy, but they landed on my heart like a ton of bricks, suffocating me. I like someone, she said. What about you? Before I could answer, she looked me straight in the eye, a carefree smile on her face. So, don't you like me? It wasn't a question. It was a command. I just stood there, stunned. A leaf from the oak tree fell on my shoulder, and I didn't even notice. Long after she had gone, I finally heard my own voice whisper. Okay. Later, at her 18th birthday party, I saw Leo for the first time. He was playing the cello, and she stood beside him, a perfect picture. It was then that I truly understood. Some things, no matter how hard you work for them, are simply out of reach. I never thought we would end up like this. Jessica's first major event since regaining her sight, and it was already a disaster. Her relationship with Sophia was already bad, and during the past 2 years, they had become mortal enemies. Every well-connected person in this room knew it. I leaned over to Sophia and whispered, "Let's go. There's nothing for us here." Jessica's expression flickered. For the first time, in a place where she was present, I was leaving with someone else. Before getting into the car, I glanced back up the grand staircase. Jessica was standing in the distance, the wind catching the hem of her dress. Leo was taking off his jacket to place around her shoulders. I smiled. Sophia leaned in front of me. What's so funny? She followed my gaze, but Jessica was already gone. Nothing, I said softly. It was just the first time I realized I don't have to put up with someone else's temper. Before, it was because of love. Later, it was because of gratitude. Jessica's temper was not something everyone could endure, especially during her blindness. Whether it was the household staff or me, she was constantly lashing out, verbally or physically. But the more she acted out, the more my heart ached for her. The people closest to her in the world were gone because of that accident. If she didn't vent her pain, I was afraid she would break. So I sent all the staff away and took care of her by myself. One day, she accidentally spilled boiling water on my hand. For the first time, I lost my temper with her. Jessica, do you think acting like this honors your parents? Does it honor your grandfather? That night, she fumbled in the dark, gently tracing my hand as she applied ointment. It stung, but I couldn't bring myself to push her away. I'm sorry, she whispered. After that, she never had another outburst. In fact, she grew more and more dependent on me. And in the end, she was still able to throw me away without a second thought. For the past few days, I'd been staying at Sophia's house. My plan was to find a hotel and then start apartment hunting, but Sophia had dragged me home with her instead. My initial relationship with Sophia was little more than a friend of a friend. But one day, I saw her sitting by the school gate, crying quietly because she'd lost something. Knowing she was one of Jessica's friends, I offered to help her look. We searched from dawn till dusk and finally found it. A necklace, a keepsake from her mother. After that, Sophia was always finding excuses to bother me, asking for help with homework or to carry her things home. Over time, her grandmother became incredibly fond of me. Sophia was a vibrant person, always smiling. I sat on the veranda with her grandmother, watching her play in the yard with her dog. The sunlight on her face was incredibly warm. After her grandmother went inside, Sophia suddenly appeared in front of me, studying my face. "You're different," she announced. I was confused. "What's different?" She didn't answer right away, just sat down beside me. After a while, she looked up at me and said seriously, different from the first time we met. The first time we met? I didn't even know her then. She had come right up to me and whispered in my ear, "Why do you follow Jessica around all day?" I just assumed she thought I was cramping their style. "The first time I saw you," she continued, "I thought, that guy is so sweet. Why is he following Jessica and not me?" Jessica hadn't visited her grandfather's grave in a long time. Even though things were over between us, I still felt a debt to Mr. Hayes. Without him, my life would have been much harder. His headstone was clean, and a fresh bouquet of flowers lay before it. It seemed Jessica had been here after all. "Grandpa," I murmured, tracing the photo on the cold stone, "I can't keep my promise to take care of Jessica anymore. I'm tired. So tired." I wiped a smudge off the picture. "Jessica's all better now, so you can rest easy. Even without me, someone will take good care of her." They had their wedding. It was grand, beautiful. If you were still here, you would have been so happy for them. They're a perfect match. As for me, I could be anywhere. I've always been alone. It was just a fluke that Grandpa Hayes took me in. "Grandpa, you're not angry with me, are you?" A gentle breeze rustled the leaves, as if he were whispering back to me. "That feels nice. I'll take that as you forgiving me." I smiled, but as I did, a tear rolled down my cheek. Sometimes a dark thought enters my mind. If I hadn't rushed to save her that day, would my life be completely different? I wouldn't have had the same education or opportunities, but maybe I would have been happier. But every time I think it, I push it away. I couldn't. 100 times over, I would still choose to save her. I wouldn't have gone home with her grandfather. As I left the cemetery, I saw a familiar car. Jessica got out. She was alone. She must have stayed after leaving the flowers. She just stood there, motionless, watching me. I had to walk right past her. "Why bother putting on a show for my grandfather?" she spat, her voice dripping with contempt. "Do you think you're worth it?" The insult seemed insufficient for her anger, but with her grandfather's grave so close, she restrained herself. Our relationship hadn't been this toxic right after her recovery. But a few weeks ago, she received something, and ever since she's been like this. At first, I couldn't accept it. I thought I could fix it. But then I saw that wedding of the century. We were really over. I didn't look at her, my eyes fixed on a car pulling up in the distance. "Jessica, do you just assume that no matter what you do, I'll always be by your side? So you could take out all your frustrations on me, use me up, and then kick me to the curb?" Jessica stared at me for a few seconds, then scoffed. "Stop pretending. In the end, you were just after something else." I was still trying to process what she meant. "You did all that for the Hayes family money, didn't you? You're quite the patient one, putting up with so much for so long." That night, a link appeared in an email on my computer. I clicked it. It was an audio recording. If it wasn't for the money, who would want to be with her? A blind girl. Is the old man's will finalized yet? The voice was undeniably mine, but I had never said those words. How could I have said something like that? Grandpa Hayes' will did mention me. He left me one of Hayes Corporation's subsidiary companies. But in my mind, that was just his way of ensuring I would take care of Jessica. Unfortunately, that inheritance became the most powerful evidence supporting the recording. In Jessica's mind, I was nothing but a manipulative schemer who took care of her for money. She hadn't even bothered to get the recording authenticated before convicting me. I slumped back in my chair, staring blankly at the ceiling. So that was it. No wonder she suddenly wanted nothing to do with me, throwing me out of her house. No wonder she'd rather be with the man who abandoned her than look at me twice. I didn't try to explain. When someone is determined to find you guilty, what's the point? If she had any real faith in me, she would have investigated the recording, even called the police. But she didn't. The moment she heard it, she sentenced me to death. It wasn't hard to guess who benefited most from all this. Back at Sophia's, I had the most peaceful night's sleep I'd had in a long time. Before Jessica's accident, Leo had always seen me as a thorn in his side. It was comical, really. Jessica despised me, yet Leo was still jealous. When I graduated, Mr. Hayes insisted I work at Hayes Corp. Around that time, he was trying to discipline Jessica, so he grounded her and confiscated her phone and computer. She couldn't contact anyone, including Leo. Leo, predictably, showed up at the office looking for her. In his mind, I was Jessica's little puppy. I'd surely know where she was. I didn't know, but Mr. Hayes had forbidden me from telling anyone. Leo, furious, punched me right in front of the main entrance, in full view of dozens of employees. I fell to the ground, stunned. Security guards rushed to stop him from hitting me again. But he wasn't done. Looking at the gawking crowd, he tore me to shreds. A piece of trash from the gutter gets a handout, and thinks he's somebody, he sneered. "Do you have any idea how much Jessica hates you? She told me the sight of you makes her sick, but she can't get rid of you. What's the difference between you and some male homewrecker?" You think you're so useful, but you're just a dog. I hadn't done anything. I was just following Mr. Hayes's wishes, trying to repay a debt of kindness. Somehow he got my number, and that night, he called me to curse me out again. It's all because Jessica has money, because Mr. Hayes has money. Don't think I don't know. Jessica told me you're in her grandfather's will. How did I respond that night? I was so angry. I told him, so what if I'm after the money? Even if I am, Mr. Hayes still prefers me over a so-called virtuoso like you. Not long after Mr. Hayes and Jessica were in the car accident. He died at the scene. Glass shards pierced Jessica's eyes, and she was blind. I was supposed to be with them, but I'd stayed home that day with a fever. I had escaped the disaster, only to walk into a nightmare. I picked up my phone again and was hit by a barrage of notifications. Messages from people feigning concern while secretly reveling in the drama. Caleb, what happened? Why is everyone dragging you online? Shaw, what did you do? If you didn't do it, you need to clear your name. Only one message was genuine. It was from Sophia, who was on a business trip overseas. Don't look at anything. Wait for me to get back. It was a short sentence, but it felt incredibly warm. I clicked on the trending topic anyway. Social climber forges will. In this society, gossip spreads like wildfire, especially when it's about the rich. Everyone loves to hate a gold digger. The main post contained a familiar audio clip, the one I'd received. Inside sources commented below, claiming I was never really sick that day, that I was never at the hospital. They insinuated the car crash might have been my doing. If they were all dead, I'd be the sole heir. Someone even posted the video of Leo punching me at the office, claiming Jessica's boyfriend had discovered my evil plot and confronted me, but it was too late. The comments piled up, one after another, everyone playing armchair detective. Leo seized the opportunity, posting a vague, tearful video to his own social media. I couldn't get in touch with Jessica back then, he said, his voice thick with emotion. We were about to get engaged. Just days before, she told me something about Caleb. I told her not to worry. I never imagined the next day they would. He choked back a sob. If I had just been more vigilant, maybe that accident could have been avoided. He glanced over at Jessica, who was sitting beside him, silent. But her silence was its own statement. I scrolled through the comments. They were all pretty much the same. They were all crucifying me. To raise a wolf in sheep's clothing for so many years. Calling him a wolf is too kind. I never knew rich people had it so tough. A gold digger could be lurking around any corner. This is terrifying when you think about it. They need to investigate the car crash properly. Disgusting. They take you in and you try to change their will. People like that should have been snatched by human traffickers as kids and forced to be beggars. A hand suddenly plucked the phone from my grasp. I looked up. It was Sophia's grandmother. Don't look at that, she said gently. Come eat. I made your favorite fried chicken. My lips trembled. I wanted to say something, but she cut me off. It's all right. If we didn't do it, then we didn't do it. Now come on, eat up. Sophia will be home soon. In that moment, I felt a lump form in my throat. The person I had spent years with refused to believe me. Yet Sophia and her grandmother stood by my side without a second's hesitation. When Sophia returned, I was being escorted by the police to a patrol car. There was no evidence connecting me to the car crash, but the audio recording involved forging a will. Jessica had reported me to the police. As a suspect, I had to be taken into custody. Before getting in the car, I walked over to Sophia and wiped a bead of sweat from her forehead. Go on inside, it's too hot out here. Don't worry. Before I could read her expression, I was pushed into the back of the car. As I was being led up the steps of the police station, I saw Jessica and Leo walking out. Their expressions were starkly different as they saw me in handcuffs. A suspicion began to form in my mind about who was really behind the recording. After all, I had said some of those words that night. I just couldn't understand why. They already had their wedding. I wasn't a threat to them anymore. Jessica's face was a complex mess of emotions. Her eyes were red-rimmed, yet they also held the profound pain of betrayal. I didn't look at them any longer. There was nothing to say. The police would uncover the truth. I was interrogated for hours. They went through everything from my family background to my exact whereabouts on the day of the accident. The voice on the recording was mine. It wasn't synthesized. But after a forensic analysis, the police determined that the recording had been edited together from separate clips. The person Leo hired was a master, clearly expensive. The audio technician had already fled the country, but the man who had orchestrated it all was caught. I was held for 48 hours. When I was released, the whole truth had come out. Leo had hired someone to create the recording, sending it to Jessica from overseas before leaking it to the press. When I walked out of the police station, Sophia was waiting for me. But so was Jessica. With Sophia watching, I walked toward Jessica. She looked agitated, though I couldn't tell if it was because I wasn't going to prison or because Leo was now facing punishment. She grabbed my hand. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice trembling. I didn't think this would be the outcome." I let out a bitter laugh and pulled my sleeve from her grasp. How could she not have thought of it? If she had possessed even a sliver of trust in me, she wouldn't have condemned me based on a single recording. "I told you, I don't owe you anything anymore. Grandpa Hayes asked me to take care of you, and I did. From now on, you'll have to walk your own path." I turned away, tried to leave us both with a final shred of dignity. I could see that girl still waiting for me by the car. If I didn't get over there soon, I'd get another earful of sarcasm. Jessica tried to grab me again, but she was swarmed by a pack of reporters that appeared out of nowhere. "Ms. Hayes, what are your plans regarding this incident? Mr. Vance cared for you during your blindness. Will you forgive him for what he's done? Do you have anything to say about Mr. Shaw being wrongfully accused?" Jessica stood frozen in the middle of the scrum, looking helpless. But this time, there was no one to rescue her. Sophia tossed a handful of rice at me. "To get rid of the bad luck," she huffed, then immediately got into the car. I smiled. Looked like I had some serious consoling to do. As we drove away, I faintly heard Jessica's answer to the reporters carried on the wind. "The person who took care of me was never him. I will not forgive Leo, and I will not forgive myself." Across the sea of people, her red-rimmed eyes found me in the back seat. Whatever. It had nothing to do with me anymore. In just a few days, the entire story had flipped. Combined with Jessica's own public admission, the online vitriol that had been aimed at me was now directed at Leo. Disgusting. And he calls himself a cellist. Turns out he's just a poisonous snake. Those two are actually a perfect match. A scumbag and a bitch. He ran so fast when she went blind, and came running back even faster when she recovered. More and more people chimed in, mourning my wasted years, cursing Jessica and Leo on my behalf. The same people who once thought they were a match made in heaven now thought they were a match made in hell. Leo's character was exposed. He tried to flee the country, but was intercepted by police at the airport. While he wasn't connected to the car crash, he couldn't escape the charges for slander and fabricating evidence. The once celebrated cello virtuoso became a public pariah. Hayes Corporation stock took a nosedive from a scandal. Opportunists called for Jessica's removal, arguing she was unfit to lead the company. I went back to the Hayes mansion one last time. I'd been thrown out in such a hurry that I'd left some things behind. To my surprise, my belongings were all there, untouched, neatly arranged where I'd left them. I thought for sure Jessica would have had them thrown in a storage room. There wasn't much to pack, just a photograph on my desk that gave me pause. After a few minutes, I took a pair of scissors and cut my side of the photo off, leaving only Jessica and her grandfather. It was a picture of the three of us, taken just before he died. I had been so happy when we took that photo, so full of hope and dreams for the future. Jessica's soft voice called my name from the doorway. I glanced over. She looked haggard. The online backlash and Leo's situation must have been keeping her up at night. Her lips trembled as she reached a hand toward me, then let it fall. "I was so scared," she whispered. "I was terrified that you were really the person in that recording. I had someone look at it, but they said it was your voice. I was so scared. I was afraid that if I had someone else check, the result would be the same. I was afraid you really were just after the money. But with the recording right there, I couldn't ignore it. I could only abandon me. Only throw me out." I stared at her, my face warmed by the sunlight streaming through the window. "Maybe," I said lazily. My response seemed to stun her. "Deep down, you never trusted me. So your subconscious was already convinced the outcome would be bad. You don't believe in me, but it doesn't matter. The way things are now, it's the best possible result." As I walked out, she ran after me, grabbing my hand. "Forgive me, please. You love me so much. We can be happy. We can." I cut her off. "I did love you. A long time ago. But now, I have someone else I want to cherish." The sound of a car horn from outside startled her. Through the open door, we could see Sophia getting out her car. The color drained from Jessica's face. She looked like she couldn't accept it. It even looked like she might fall to her knees and beg me to turn around, to not leave her, to not leave the Hayes family. I was never coming back. The biggest news online lately was about the bride and groom from the wedding of the century. One, the genius cellist, was exposed for having bought his credentials and paid others to take his exams overseas. The other, Jessica Hayes, was now being called the blind heiress, not because of her eyes, but because of her heart. I heard Jessica established a charitable foundation with half of her personal fortune, dedicated to supporting orphans and building more children's homes. They said she was just trying to repair her reputation, but I knew it was because of guilt. a guilt I had no intention of absolving. Dinner's ready. I turned to see Sophia sneaking a bite of food by the kitchen counter, while her grandmother called me to the table. This world is not short of warm people, but the ones who can warm me are few and far between. Thankfully, I didn't meet them too late. Coming.